ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
It's still Christmas, and it still means a lot. It's still Christmas. Why are we torn? It is the day when Jesus was born. It is snowmen and Santas and folks of good cheer. It's gingerbread men and flying reindeer. It's wreaths with red bows and colorful lights. It's that tree at Rockefeller lit up in the nights. It's Christmas. Give it meaning or not, it's still Christmas, and it still means a lot. It's still Christmas. Why are we torn? It is the day when Jesus was born. It means eggnog and cookies and gridlock.
Only 14
shopping, wrapping, and
only 14 years old, but this is a modern Christmas classic, rivaling Mariah Carey, Irving Berlin, Bing Crosby, whomever your favorite Christmas artist or Christmas song is. Can it really compete with It's Christmas? The artist there, as you, if you couldn't tell by that iconic voice, which has been a staple around the New York radio waves for a long time, is the one and only John R. Gambling. That song, It's Christmas, a modern day classic, if ever there was one. And it's become part of our Christmas tradition on the radio to not only play that song, but to chat about Christmas, the radio, and all things with legendary radio broadcaster John R. Gambling. John, Merry Christmas. It's great to talk with you.
Thank you, Frank, and Merry Christmas to you and your family and all of your listeners as well. You know, that song continues to generate residuals like you can't believe. I mean, it's extraordinary. It keeps me in retirement. If I didn't have that song, we wouldn't have anything. Actually, the rights to that song belong to J.J. Kennedy. I willed them to her because she was the creator of that foolishness.
Well, first of all, I think it's a terrific song. Last year, the year before, when we played, J.J. Kennedy's husband actually called in right after our interview. So it's great to see that they're still up early in the morning or late at night, even on holidays. And yeah, that's why we play it. Yeah, we figured you could use a couple of bucks in retirement, and why not have the residuals go your way? But
I can't think of any better way to generate a couple of pennies.
Tell me about that song. How did that come to be? I know you were on WOR radio in New York, for listeners around the country, an iconic radio station. It was 2010. Was that a spur of the moment thing, or how did that come to be?
No, seriously, it was JJ's idea. She and I both had bemoaned the fact that the entire social scene at Christmas time had abandoned Merry Christmas. I mean, it was always Happy Holidays. And the two of us were apoplectic over this. I mean, where did Christmas disappear to, like so many other things? Anyway, she took it upon herself. She had a friend that wrote the music. She wrote the words, and I did that stunning voiceover.
Well, it's terrific. By the way, if people are unfamiliar with J.J. Kennedy, she was a terrific traffic reporter in the New York area, and obviously she was a big part of that WOR John Gambling show team in the about 14 years ago. It's tough to believe it's been that long, but it has.
Frank, I can't believe it's 14 years.
It's crazy. It feels like yesterday that I heard it. I can't imagine what it felt like for you recording it.
Oh my God! I mean, it's one of the highlights of my radio career.
All right, for people that are have not followed what you've been up to, like most New Yorkers, you've done the most New York thing that you can do, and you've moved to Florida in retirement. I think there's either a state or a federal law mandating that all New Yorkers do that very thing. Yeah, I know you love Florida, and I know it's very conducive to not necessarily paying large amounts of income taxes. It might be better in terms of the weather, but when it comes to Christmas time, I mean, it was snowing yesterday. Is there any part of you that misses being in New York, misses seeing the snow on the ground for Christmas?
No. Having said no, when I see the tree lit in Rockefeller Center, and boy, don't get me started on that with that nonsense show that they put on now. But when I see that, and I see people bundled up, like, oh yeah, again, the answer is no. Yeah, no, really, I don't miss much about New York at all. I mean, I've got fantastic memories, and it truly was my life for most of it. But I'm a Floridian. Ron DeSantis and I have dinner all the time together.
I bet. Well, and even the president's a Floridian now, or the president-elect, the forthcoming president. So Florida is the dominant part of the news cycle, seemingly every which way.
Well, I have friends, Frank, that live over in Palm Beach, very close to Mar-a-Lago. And they tell me that it is a disaster over there from a traffic standpoint. They have the whole lower end of Palm Beach is cut off. You know, you've got to show 3 forms of ID to get through. You have to go through TSA checks. They said it's really quite something.
I know that even pre-Trump, there was always this dichotomy between the culture on the East Coast of Florida and the culture on the West Coast of Florida. I never could remember which is what, but it did seem like there was this very territorial rivalry depending on which coast people lived on. Which coast are you on, and what does that say about the culture of what part of Florida you're in?
We live on the West Coast. We live in a little place south of Sarasota, where it seems half the world retires to. I mean, Frank, you can really, really tell when the snowbirds come back and when the snowbirds leave. It's just amazing. But yeah, there is a culture that is quite different. The East Coast is very much New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. It has the same even feel to it somewhat. The West Coast is much more Midwestern and Canadian.
Really?
And it's a slower pace, and I'm not quite sure how to put this, but I don't think we take ourselves quite as seriously over here on the West Coast. Yeah.
So it's glad to see the West Coasters have imported you and adopted you, even with your New York roots, and nobody's telling you to head on over to the East Coast. What are you doing here?
No, not yet anyway.
Right.
No.
At 30 minutes after the hour on Christmas Day, this is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is legendary radio talk show host John Gambling. John, what are you up to? What is the grandchildren count now for you and Wendy? What do you spend most of your days doing? How much golf can one man play?
Well, I've had some medical issues, nothing terribly serious, so I haven't played a lot of golf lately. But we keep busy, and the temperatures have dropped from where they were. It was brutal this summer, so we don't use the pool very much either. We have the entire family coming down for Christmas.
Oh, wonderful!
That's 5 grandchildren and 3 sons and 3 daughters-in-law. So we have a full house. In fact, the house is so full, Wendy and I have to leave so there are enough beds for people to sleep in. and this isn't a tiny little house either, but there's just not enough room. So we've made arrangements to go somewhere else at night, which actually is kind of nice because it gets you away from all the hectic Christmas energy.
I know Wendy has a reputation of being very fastidious with her cleaning and her house preparations and everything. I'm surprised that she is abandoning ship on a holiday, no less, to let all of these younger gamblings run roughshod over the homestead.
Well, Frank, get serious here. She's been decorating the house. By the way, it looks spectacular. She's been decorating it since August. So there'll be no shortage of Christmas cheer in the gambling household this year with all the little ones. And by the way, the little ones will all be in the pool. Gramps is going to blow a lot of money and heat the thing. So
outstanding. Something tells me that blue lights are not a part of that decoration scheme, though.
No, there are no blue lights. No, there are no blue lights anywhere. In fact, you know what? You really don't see. I'm trying to think. You really don't see blue lights down here at all. Everything seems to be either multicolored or just white. Mostly white, I would say. There's still a lot of Christmas decorations that go on.
I remember you saw those blue lights in Ronkonkoma, and forget about it. It ignited a series of outrage. What is it about blue Christmas lights that tend to turn you off, John?
They're just, in my view, they're not Christmas. I mean, Christmas is colored lights, in my view, like most Christmas trees have. I used to tease a previous producer to you, Frank, Flipper, and because she lived out that way, and that was a rolling joke for season after season.
Oh, she and I still joke about that whenever we chat. In fact, I'm going to try and give her a call, today or tomorrow, and see if we can't have a laugh about that. John, I remember one of the interregnums of you being on the radio in 2007. It was, I guess, May or June of 2007. It was when you had just left WABC in New York, but before you had rejoined WOR, and the Elliot Spitzer scandal had broken, and we spoke, and you said at the time, gee, I really wish I could be on the radio right now. Every day, it seems like there's a different crazy news story. If it's not drones, it's the United Healthcare CEO being assassinated. If it's not a presidential election, it's this Matt Gaetz ethics report. If it's not Biden pardoning his son, it's Elon Musk saying something crazy. Are there days these days where you read the paper or you watch what's going on and you say, I love retirement, but I wish I had a radio show just for today?
I got to tell you, I'm asked that quite a bit, as you point out in the background that you gave. The reason is that I'm asked this often because there's so much junk going on. It's mind-boggling, to be honest with you, Frank. The short answer is no. Mm-hmm. I don't miss it at all, but I do shake my head in just amazement at the events that are taking place. We can get into Uncle Joe Biden here in just a second if you want, but stories like the drones. What on earth is that all about? And how does the American government absolutely run from any kind of explanation? Mm-hmm. I mean, even the most bizarre explanation, they don't even bother with. They just ignore it, and it goes away. And guess what? It goes away. But tell me, have the drones gone away?
Well, yeah, they have. I mean, it's so the people that were seeing them all over New Jersey that I saw that could have sworn, no, this is something different. This is not just typical airlines or airplanes or the kind of thing that we're used to seeing in the night sky. Even while they were happening and the government said, oh, no, this is just normal stuff. Apparently, the folks in New Jersey that were seeing them, and this is largely anecdotal, but they've said they've stopped seeing them anymore. So which makes their sudden appearance even more bizarre.
You're absolutely right, but I think they're, again, knowing nothing more than what I read in the New York Post every morning, which I do. It just is another example of how we as human beings are afraid of our own shadow, and we are so reactive, and the psychology I think that's the most interesting part of this: the psychology, the crowd energy that gets going here. The people start seeing things because they were told that they were drones, and I see drones, no problem. It's interesting to say the least.
You mentioned President Biden. Obviously, we're in the waning days of his administration, and he's made quite a bit of news of late. Not for anything having to do with, say, the fight to keep the government open or anything like that, but for commuting the sentences of 37 prisoners that were on death row, for pardoning his son, for pardoning a number of other controversial figures. What's your take on the waning days of the Biden administration and, I don't know, the legacy of Joe Biden as president?
It's one of the saddest things, Frank, I've seen in my lifetime. I don't know who you point your finger at, but the fact that for 4 years he was stumbling around in a daze, and no one really knowing about it except the people in Washington and at the White House specifically, and the fact that he would continue, it just turns his legacy, if there was one, into an evaporated state. I find it so sad.
Yeah.
I really do, and I think that Jill, Dr. Jill, has to be part of it. In fact, the whole family has to be part of it. That they would continue the ruse that was going on, and the fact that Joe Biden, in his diminished state, was supposedly running the United States, the most powerful country in the whole wide world, with countless nuclear weapons and everything that goes along with it, scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. No, and still, there's still almost a month left of the Biden administration, and one wonders what could happen in that month. All right. The other item that I alluded to was this assassination of the United Healthcare CEO. Luigi Mangione seems to have become something of a matinee idol. He became Robin Hood to some and a GQ cover boy for others. What do you think about, you talked about kind of the mass psychology as it relates to the drones. What does it say about the psychology of America that so many people are willing to donate to his legal defense fund, and even before this guy was arrested, before his identity was known, turned this fella into a folk hero?
It's the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. It's just I find it impossible to understand and make any sense of, because what is up is now down. What's down is now up. It's horrible that where have we come from that where good and evil are flip-flopped, and people are praising this moron, demented, obviously mentally ill, that he would confuse in mind that this CEO, he would go and shoot in the back. It's distressing, to say the least. Frank, every time I talk to you, I sound like a really old guy, and obviously I am a really old guy. But when you come through almost 75 years of life in New York, and what I did and what I watched, this is hard to understand. All of these things are hard to understand because they seem so un-American. Yeah. They seem so uncivilized.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's believing cold-blooded murder is wrong thing. Hey, lastly, on the hard news front, and then I want to ask you about a little bit about the tradition that we've not only had on this show, but that you and your father and grandfather had on the radio for 3/4 of a century of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. You've had a relationship with President Trump over the years. He's a Floridian now. I think you were at President Trump's second wedding. I got to speak with him many times through booking him as a producer for your radio show. What's your thoughts on the going into the second Trump administration? I know there were certain aspects of the first Trump administration that, I don't know, you've found a little bit of a turnoff more from a style perspective than a substance one. Are you more optimistic about the second one?
Very much so. And when he a couple of years ago started the campaign for this election, it was very noticeable, obvious to me, that either he had come to the realization or somebody had beat it out of him or into him that the behavior, especially at the end of the last one, was unacceptable. The American people weren't going to buy it. It wasn't going to work. We needed a more friendly Donald Trump. And as you point out, I've known Donald Trump for 30 years plus. And Donald is what Donald is. And we were seeing that, but that wasn't working. I'm talking about sort of the brash tweets and texts and the rest of it. But he finally cleaned up his act. And by cleaning up it, by just making that sort of slight adjustment, he turned the whole thing around. I mean, he has shown a resilience that not a single person, I don't think, would have ever guessed.
Yeah.
Other than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is, of course, the most brilliant individual in the world.
It's got to be the political comeback of the century.
Without question. And it was so complete. It was so universal. I mean, he just took down everybody, and the Democrats continue even to this day to try and make excuses. I mean, you turn on one of the liberal television stations, news stations, MSNBC or CNN, they're still blaming Donald Trump for everything.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. In a moment, we're going to hear your rendition of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Ballpark, about when was the first time that you did this on the radio?
I would say probably 1955. I was born in 50. And I think it was around my 5th birthday that I first did it. Do you have the piece where I start off as a child?
No,
finish as an old person.
You keep saying that you're going to send that over to me, that you found it recently. I would love to hear that. I have not heard that.
Well, so as you know, every year I would read The Night Before Christmas, following in my father's footsteps when he was a child. When I don't know if he was 5 at the time, but he was young, and following my grandfather, John B. Gambling, who started the tradition of reading The Night Before Christmas. It's really quite something. But one year I actually found one of the early readings, and I started off on my Christmas show with that, and segued and cross-faded into my reading of it today, or whenever that was. And it was pretty dramatic. It really, you talk about traditions, you don't think about them very often, but when you don't have them any longer, you kind of miss them. And when you hear it out of the blue, once again, as we will in just a little bit here, makes you feel good.
Absolutely. It makes me feel good to hear it. And since we've been doing it on this program, a lot of folks said that even though you're not on the radio anymore in New York and elsewhere, it's a tradition that still makes them feel a bit more like it's Christmas, because they've come to grow up with this in some cases, or in other cases just look forward to it. We're going to hear this in a second. John, Merry Christmas to you, to Wendy. Good luck with your health and your retirement. And I'm so glad that you got the whole family together this year.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for giving me a shout here. It's nice to be remembered, even if by you and your large audience. That's great.
Thank you, and I know you're probably not eager to dodge the people setting fires to strap hangers in the subway in New York, but I do hope you'll come up to New York sometime soon and we can get together.
You bet, Frank. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas. Without further ado, here is John Gambling and his classic rendition of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas."
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children, they're nestled all snug in their beds while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When, out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to that window I flew like a flash. I tore open the shutters. I threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, and when what to my wondering eyes did appear? But a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and he shouted and he called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and the pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face, little round belly, that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby, plump, right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye, a twist of his head, soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but he went straight to his work, and he filled all the stockings. Then he turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."